Hi, I'm Callie and I'm learning Go, and I'm learning Go in public. I started a new job and my new job uses Go. Before, I had only ever used JavaScript and TypeScript at work, so this is a new language for me. And I decided I would try to learn it publicly on YouTube and see how it goes. What's really cool is one of my coworkers saw one of my Go learning videos and offered to pair program with me for an hour to better explain how pointers work in Go. And it was really cool. So it made me kind of want to hop on and solidify the knowledge a little bit. So I brought up an article that I read a few minutes ago about Go pointers because I feel like you don't know something well enough unless you can teach it, right? And I didn't feel like I could talk about pointers in a confident way yet. So I'm bringing up the article and I'm going to try to get there in this video. Okay, so the first thing that this article goes through is memory address. All right. And I think it's going to be cool to start small with this example. So I'm going to clear my console. All right, so I have a main function here that declares a variable that is going to be an integer, and it's going to be set equal to the value of 10. Okay. So what's happening behind the scenes, right, is that we're creating a variable, but it's not just that num is 10, okay? Num is actually getting memory allocated to that variable to store the value, okay? So num is actually going to point to a memory address, okay? So if we just print num, it's going to show us the value, which is what we expect, right? Let's go ahead and run it. Num 10, okay? But if we go ahead and add the ampersand operator before, that's going to print out instead the memory address of this variable num. So let's go ahead and run it again. All right, so you see this address here. That's the address of the memory that's allocated, okay? And look, we have similar output. All right, let's keep going. All right. So the next thing that we can do is we can create pointer variables, right, that will store the memory's address. Okay. So the first thing we have is we have our variable, which is an num, which is an integer, and it's equal to 10, the value 10. Okay. We can then create another variable that's a pointer variable that points to the memory address of num. All right. So let's write that out. So we're to say a variable pointer, then we're to use the asterisk, okay? It's a pointer to an integer, and we're going to point it to the memory address of num, all right? So then we can go ahead and add a print statement to print our pointer variable. So we know that the ampersand num is going to be the location of the memory, all right? And so I expect to see 10 printed out first, right? And then I expect to see the memory location printed out second. So let's go ahead and run it and see if we did it right. Oh, I didn't save after I took the ampersand away. So yeah, we have numbers 10, and then we have our pointer is to the memory address of variable num. Okay? All right, let's keep going. All right. So this part is the part that's still kind of cloudy for me is like how to talk about this. So I'm excited that we have the tutorial out too, because the more you read about something, the more you'll be being able to talk about it. Okay. So like I'm at the point where I can predict what is going to log in my terminal, but I'm not at the point where I feel like I can confidently tell you what each line is doing in the correct terms. All right, so this represents that the pointer variable is of int type, stores the memory address of int variable. All right, it looks like we can create it with strings or floats or any other types. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, so here we have a program to assign memory address to a pointer. So we have a variable name, which is John, and then we are declaring a pointer variable, which is going to be, see, like it's this part here. So let's go up and reread this. Represents a pointer variable of int type. Okay, so variable pointer represents a pointer variable of string type. Okay. Then we are going to assign the pointer variable to the memory address of name to this pointer variable, and then we'll print it out. All right, I'm just going to copy this and make sure that we're logging or printing the same thing. Make sure I fully understand what all is happening. So I'm going to clear my terminal and run it. Okay, so the value of the pointer, that makes sense, right? Because it is pointing to the ampersand name, and we know that that is the memory address of the variable name. Okay, and then if we are doing ampersand name, then we know that that is also pointing to the memory address. So if I changed this to just name, then we should see, yep, address of the variable is John. Okay, cool, that makes sense. In the above example, we have created a pointer variable PTR of type string. Here, okay, I like that. So we can say that this is a pointer variable named PTR of type string. All right, that feels like a good way to say it. The pointer variable and the address of the name variables are the same. That's because the pointer variable stores the memory address of the name variable. All right, so now here's the fun part, okay? Because I don't actually care personally what the memory address of the name pointer, like I don't want this to print out the address of name. I want to actually see the value, okay? So the way that we're gonna do that is we're gonna use the asterisk operator. And I actually don't know if that's how I'm supposed to say it out loud, so comment if I'm supposed to say it differently, please and thank you. Okay, to access the value present in the memory address pointed by the pointer. Okay, so we have our variable name John, then we have a pointer variable of type string, then we set our pointer variable equal to the memory address of the variable name, and then we print the value pointed by our PTR. Okay, so that should say, then I'm going to get rid of this line here. So then I should have, if I add the asterisk, it should print John. All right, so let's clear our terminal and give it a go. Woo! And it does, it prints John. Okay, so the ampersand tells us, indicates the memory address, and the asterisk tells us to get the value at that memory address. All right. So I think I'm going to end this one here because I do have a fun one that I'm going to do in a next video, but this video is a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, we're going to end it here. This was a little bit of an exploration into pointers, and we will keep on keeping on the next time I have some time to learn some Go.